Hello my friends, and welcome to my Kingston adventure. Now, many of you who have been watching for the last 6 months will know that I have a new PC, and that I had been experiencing, in the beginning, just tiny fractional second little hitches in the audio for the first couple of months. Nothing serious, maybe happen once every 3 hours. Not a big deal. Thought it might be a driver issue. When you're using the latest PC, state-of-the-art gear, you think, oh, might be drivers, might be something that the kinks haven't been ironed out yet. Anyway, I did all the usual things. Updated all my drivers. Went through all my system files. I was a computer engineer, senior computer engineer for Vodafone. I worked for Vodafone for 11 years, and I thought I had seen it all, but I was wrong, for sure. So, at first, the issue was so minor and so intermittent that I didn't care, really. It wasn't a big deal. Getting a tiny little hitch, maybe with 3 hours of gameplay or something, is not the biggest deal, and honestly could be caused by anything. But as time went on, the hitches got longer, they got more annoying, and I thought, okay, now I need to investigate this. Now my first thought was it's something to do with temperature, to do with something degrading, because the issue was getting worse. And that normally meant either the CPU or the graphics card. So I ran an intensive game, and I brought up some status pages, and I just watched to see what would happen. I waited for the hitch to occur with all my logging tools on. And this is what I saw. So let me just... Oops. Good old OBS being useless. Alright. This is supposed to snap to screen, but apparently it didn't. So this is my graphics card status page. And if you see here, what I saw was these spikes where the graphics card was running at full power, then nothing, then full power, then nothing, then full power, then nothing, then full power, then nothing, and so on. This is after this line here where it was running smoothly in the game for a long time. So this is not the most intensive game. You can see no problems with the temperature, no problems with the voltage. The game was just running perfectly fine. And then suddenly these hitches, and you'll see it again here, these are the hitches, and then the game started running smoothly again. And I thought, oh, it's my 4090. It's a brand new piece of hardware. It's a little bit experimental, that's the thing with brand new graphics cards. This is the price you sometimes pay. I even opened a ticket with Zotac, which they haven't responded to just yet, because I only just sent them the ticket, because I thought it was the graphics card. And sometimes with the graphics card, the issue can get slowly worse over time if there's some degrading component in there that's cooking itself or whatever. But what bugged me about this was the PC is water cooled. It's the middle of winter here in Norway. Temperatures are low, to absolutely understate how cold it is here right now. And no matter, even if something wasn't actively cooled, the temperatures here are so low that the heating struggles to even keep the house warm. So how on earth can my graphics card be overheating? There must be something else going on. I could not figure it out, and a month passed. I'd gone through drivers, I'd gone through game ready drivers, I'd gone through studio stable drivers, I'd done all kinds of stuff. I just could not for the life of me figure out what the hell was going on with it. Anyway, I brought open my let's go back one. I brought open my CPU monitor because I thought, well, I'd honed in on this idea that the 4090 and the CPU that I'm using, the 13900KF Intel chip, have both got power saving functions where they constantly alter the core and clock and all the rest of it. They constantly fiddle around with their settings to adjust to the demand. And I got this idea in my head that some people had experienced an issue where the CPU would increase its core speed to handle a load, and then the graphics card would then lose load, so it would lower its clock, and then that CPU, then the load would go up, and the graphics card would shoot up, and then the CPU wasn't doing much, so it would shoot down, and that the two would do this whole stupid jiggle, and that potentially might have been causing the hitching. And the funny part was, a couple of times when I got the hitching, I experienced a situation where the fans on the CPU went from idle to spinning up. I found out later that this was being caused by the CPU and the graphics card playing catch up for the real problem. Now you'll notice here, so I was looking at this and I noticed that the CPU utilization was just perfectly normal, even though in the graphics card utilization you can see a small hitch here and some hitching starting here. So the hitching was starting on the graphics card, but I didn't really see any significant performance changes on the CPU at all. I mean, there's a little spike here, but that's nothing major. This CPU is barely awake, barely being challenged here. So what the hell is going on? And then I noticed, and this is just by pure chance that I noticed this, that my SSD was reporting as being 100% utilized. And I thought, what? How can an M2 drive be under 100% utilization the whole time? What is going on here? So I decided to look at the M2 drive, and I noticed that during the hitching, the M2 drive was running at absolutely complete max capacity. But if you look at the throughput, there's no reading and no writing going on. Now, you don't have to be a computer engineer to know that if a disk is being fully utilized, it should be reading and writing at some insane speed. But it's not writing at all. So how can it be being fully utilized and yet not be doing anything? So I thought, okay, this is weird. I've never seen an issue like this before. I mean, the old mechanical discs, you would sometimes see an issue sort of like this, but it was caused by the spindle head laser died. And so the disc was running at full speed trying to read data, and it wouldn't be able to read anything at all because the laser was dead. And so you would get 100% utilization and no read write. And I thought, well, obviously it can't be that. These are not mechanical discs. But it gave me an idea. You would get a similar problem if there was a problem with the firmware. For whatever reason, not passing the data from the cells in the M2 drive to the bridge in the PC. So I thought, okay, let's update the firmware and see if that fixes it. Doesn't fix it. Is the issue definitely the disk? So I moved one of my games to my backup drive, which is just an old school NAS drive, 8 terabyte mechanical disk. Not fast, but reliable. Therefore, storing my backup data in case the PC dies. And the game which I decided to use was StarCraft 2. It's an old game. It's got good diagnostic tools in it, believe it or not. You can actually run tests in it, and it shows you resource stalls. It's a great game for testing whether there's a problem with your PC. I've always said to people that if StarCraft 2 is not running on your PC properly, it's your PC and not the game. And when I ran that game from my mechanical drive, obviously it loaded slowly between matches, but the game ran beautifully. No hitches, no problems. I ran for hours without a single issue. Whereas in recent times, I've been seeing these hitches every 15 minutes. Every 15 to 20 minutes, I've been seeing these hitches, and they're lasting longer and longer, 5, 10, 15 seconds each. So it was definitely the disc. So, what's a guy to do when he's going on a strange adventure like this? He puts the model number into Google and Reddit, and I found this thread by Tero Ducky 5 months ago, which ironically is roughly when I bought my new computer. So this is obviously a bad batch of these drives, but we'll come to that. He says, SSD jumps to 100% usage and completely freezes my PC. Possible to fix. This is it, the Kingston SNV2S2000G. I have 3 of these. Well, 2 are mine, 1 is in my wife's PC, and I had the old version of this. So I bought this drive because I had the old one, which had worked perfectly. The old one is actually still is my C drive in this PC and has no problems. So this is the second revision of this drive. The other one has a slightly different model number. But my heart sank when I saw this because I knew that I'd bought my drives roughly the same time that he bought his. And as a PC engineer, immediately my head went to bad batch land. Anyway, this looks familiar. He had some screenshots of his disk doing the same thing. Max utilization, no read write. And as I read that thread, I noticed that at least 10 other people had the exact same problem, and they were kind of all swirling around and chewing on how to fix it, and some people said that they completely formatted it and it started working perfectly again. But the issue is, this issue seems to be in some way related to how much data is on the disk. So the more, from my testing, the more files you put on the disk, the worse it gets. So of course, if you format it and you just put one game on it and you play that one game, it's going to work perfectly. But as soon as you start putting more files on, it's going to start exhibiting this behavior. And that is why it took so many months for this issue to become a nightmare, an actual real big ass problem. So, this is the end of my adventure with this. Now I actually finally know what is wrong with my computer. It was not the graphics card at all, but these Kingston discs. They are and it's funny because I have so much Kingston stuff. Kingston and Corsair stuff has always been very good, typically. This is the first time I've ever had a serious problem like this with them. But I have to send... These are the 3 here. This is the old one, which I've had no problems with whatsoever. You'll see that the serial number is actually ever so slightly different. The model number is also slightly different. This is the GB instead of the G. This is the old version one, which I've had now for a good few years, and it's been absolutely fine. But these new ones are... they're all faulty, or at least a batch of them is faulty. Now, I haven't seen Kingston admit anywhere that there's problems with these drives, but interestingly, I bought these from Komplett in Norway, and looking at my order in Komplett, every part that I ordered had a 2-year guarantee on it, except these drives. So I think that internally, somewhere, people in the industry know that these drives have got a fault in them that will rear its ugly head over time or as you fill the disk. But by the time people notice it, potentially it will be out of warranty, or that they may not potentially have much interest in taking them back because they know there's something wrong with them. Now, that said, I've never had any problems with Complet. I've explained the situation to them. I've opened up a ticket and an RMA to send them back, but I don't want them back. I've sent a refund request for them because they're faulty, and I've ordered new drives. So, unfortunately, well, I will be able to record some content for the channel, I think, by putting games on the mechanical drive. But the games I'll be able to play will only be ones that are not modern. That a mechanical drive is enough horsepower to actually run the game. Because my main C drive, the old Kingston M2, this is where my Windows resides and all my programs. I like to have the computer's programs and Windows and all that on one disk and games on another disk, because that's a great way to get good performance out of your PC. I won't go into the details of why that makes sense and why that's also good from a reliability and security perspective, but basically I always separate out my programs and Windows on one disk and my games on other separate disks. There are workarounds. I can play some old games on the mechanical disc, they work just fine, but obviously they load slowly, but older games don't have huge volumes of things to load, so that's not a problem. But more modern stuff I definitely can't play at all at the moment. So I've ordered new discs immediately so I can get this resolved. I'm working on backing up my PC, etc. But there may be, just when I was getting on top of content and wanting to go back to doing 3 videos a month, I've finally diagnosed this issue, and it's it's gonna kill content creation for the foreseeable future. And also, as you guys know, I work for Slytherin. There's stuff that I got to do for them which I'm not going to be able to do because of this problem, so I'm going to have to talk to my boss, who's very awesome. It's Marco and Enzo. They're very awesome people, and I'm sure they'll be very understanding. But in terms of like modern games, I can't play modern games on a mechanical hard disk. They they just die. These days, it's almost impossible to play modern games without at least an SSD, if not an M2 drive. Mechanical disks are really only for storing things these days. Puts me in an awkward spot. But anyway, that's my Kingston adventure. Really frustrating. Really dampens my spirit, because I was just getting back into gaming like a champion, as it were, or binge gaming, or whatever. Saddest thing in the world, depending on who you ask. But the hitches and lags were getting so awful. It was absolutely no fun to play. This where I recorded this represented like 20 seconds of hitching. I think 20-25 seconds of hitching. At that point, the game that I was playing was actually just unplayable, completely unplayable. So anyway, I know what the problem is. I know what I need to do to fix it. I've already ordered the parts. I'm going to send the stuff back. Let's hope I get a refund. Maybe I'll do an update on this to let you know. But the long story short is, if you're going to buy a Kingston M2 drive, do not buy the new one. Do not under any circumstances buy the SNV2S2000G. Because from what I can tell, at least a large proportion of them have got this issue. And the fact that the shop that I bought it from doesn't seem to want to guarantee them, when everything else is guaranteed for 2 years, as per Norwegian law. Lore. As per Norwegian law, computer components should last at least 2 years. So they come with a legal, government-regulated warranty, and yet I noticed that these were not marked as being compatible with the warranty, which is very weird. So I think people know that there's a problem with these things. But we'll see if we get a refund from Complet. I'll update you guys maybe in the comments at a later point. If you're going to get one of these Kingstons, and I've had loads of Kingstons in the past without any problems, get the old one, the SNVS2000G. Just look for GB on the end. That one is fine. I've had that one for years, and there's never been any problems. But the new revision one has evidently got some kind of issue. Yeah, sucks. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. I feel the need to explain why I'm being set back on content. It's like, it's just everything's against me, it would seem, these past few months. It's driving me mental. But I'll get the issue fixed as soon as possible. I'm actually backing up my drives right now to tear these down and replace them as soon as the new ones arrive. And that's it. That's my public service announcement. I will see you guys next time.